Hello, people of Zion. Pastor Dan here, and I wanted to give for today's video a little update on some of what our children, youth, and families have been up to during this difficult year. It's of course been a challenge not being able to meet in large groups or in person, and so some of what we tried to do was to do what we could, which was focus on the small groups that we all were meeting in this past year, which for you know for our children is that core small group being their family at home, where we all spent so much time, and the family where really our faith is kind of where we kind of get our foundation for faith and values and development. So the decision we made was to sort of was to focus on our families and things that we could do in person as a family. And so, in a second, we're going to hear from one family from our church, John and Erica Maka, and their son Byron, about some of the activities that they've done this past year as a family and the impact that it's had on them.
Hi, we're John and Erica Maka, and we also have a 4-year-old son, Byron, and all three of us are members of Zion Lutheran. And since very early in the pandemic, we have felt extremely lucky to be part of the Faithful Families group at Zion, which has been meeting every Tuesday night over Zoom. These meetings have been a great way for us to maintain and strengthen relationships with other families, with children in our faith community, even during this period of time where we're not able to be in the church. And during this period of time, Zion, through this group, has provided a number of different child friendly activities for us to do as a family at home to help us focus on faith.
So right before Easter, volunteers dropped off these Holy Week boxes that had different figurines in to help tell the story of Easter. So a palm for Palm Sunday or shroud, and then sort of instructions to help the children tell those stories and act out the stories with the figurines. And Byron loved that. He did that many times. I think he did it over Zoom to some of our family members. And so he really internalized that story and made it a story he's very comfortable and very familiar with. And even when we brought this out for this video, he hadn't seen it in months, but he could still tell the story, and he knew what all the different figures were for. And so it's really neat to see him internalize that in that way.
During Advent, another activity that Byron particularly enjoyed was the Jesse tree, which tells the story of God's people from Genesis right up to Jesus's birth. And so every night we'd have a reading of a Bible story and then an ornament related to that story to hang on a tree. And so every night Byron was super excited once the story was over to find the correct ornament and put it just the right spot on the tree. So that was another activity that he was really excited about that just really spoke to him, and it was great.
We've felt really lucky to have these activities provided by Zion to our family. They've helped us feel a real sense of connection with the other families. When we do the Jesse tree, that all the other families with children are doing the same thing. And so when church is dispersed like it is now, it's nice to still feel that sense of community together. It's also definitely helped Byron's sort of education about God's story and the things that I'm not sure he would remember some of these stories as well if he'd just heard a reading in church. But I think most importantly, it's helped us bring these faith practices really into our home and into our everyday family life. You can't leave your faith at the church doorstep when you don't go to church. And so these activities and these meetings on Tuesday have really helped us incorporate this into our family life. And so I know that Byron has benefited, but I think our family as a whole has too, and we're very grateful for that.
Yes.
Thanks, John, Erica, and Byron, for sharing your experience with us. Thanks to all the families who've been so flexible and tried new things, and to all of our whole church who's adapted and grown in faith in this difficult year. Thanks, everyone.